Well, this is a bit fancy, isn't it? Hey guys, welcome back out to Film Learning Vlogs, and as you can see I am in the YouTube space in Sydney. All looks a bit fancy, it's nothing like the studio, that's for sure. And I just thought I'd talk about the first day and what went on, because we're here on the second day and I'm a couple of hours away from jumping into the business side of YouTube. There's a big business workshop that goes for I think 1.5 days, so I'm kind of looking forward to that, to seeing what it's all about, honestly. So the first day was something called the Content Creator Lab 2.0. I've been to these Content Creator Labs previously, and while I got a little bit out of them, I really didn't see a lot of benefit in it, especially since the second time I went to the Content Creator Lab 1.0, it was basically the same thing repeated again, and that was a little bit disappointing. So when they said this was Content Creator Lab 2.0, I thought, okay, let's check this out and hopefully we'll get something out of it. The whole point of it was really recognizing that your YouTube channel is in fact your brand, and how you manage that brand, how you actually grow that brand. So if you have noticed recently, there's a new channel trailer up for Film Learning. There's also the whole new logo, there's the new thumbnails, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I want to establish it as my own sort of thing, my own brand, and I want it to stand out. So we've got the contrasting black and whites, we've got a font that no one actually else uses on YouTube currently, and that's something I went out of my way to buy a license for. It's a font called DK for Blast, and I bought that off the font maker from My Font. Now I could have used that font for free, but in order to use it on YouTube videos and whatnot, and use it on t-shirts and so anything else that I want to sell with that font on it, you do actually have to buy a license for it. So rather than doing the dodge, I just went and bought the license, and it was $20, and I think that's $20 well spent, honestly. So a little bit more about the whole Content Creator Lab. They did send me through an information packet that was all the activities we went through. Realistically, it was recognizing what you bring to the table as a YouTube creator, what you can do to improve, and what you can actually plan for in the future, as far as really familiarizing your content into one sort of entity. So when they do send that packet through to me, I think it'll be like a PDF. I'll link that down in the description so you guys can download it, print it out, and fill it out for yourself, and really help to build your channels as well. Because at the end of the day, Film Learning isn't just about visual effects and filmmaking, it's also about helping you build better videos, and part of that is deciding what you want to do, because you can upload a whole bunch of random videos and you might get some success, but where I actually found some form of success is focusing down and saying, what do I want to do with this channel? It ended up being, well, Film Learning. Film Learning is the only reason I have the subscriber base I do now, because I focused down and I said, okay, let's just make a show and then we'll make the channel about this. I can still upload random videos from time to time, I can do the vlogs, I can do my short films, but at its core, the Blown Out Your Films channel is Film Learning itself. So as I said in the previous vlog, the YouTube space in Sydney is called a pop-up space. It only happens once a year, so what it means is for these 3 days, it's here at the Australian Film, Television and Radio School, and after those 2 days, they strip all this out and it becomes just back to being a school again. I have talked to one of the reps at YouTube. Yes, people actually do work at YouTube, it's not all automated, and they have said that they're keen to build a space in Australia somewhere. It's probably going to be Sydney, considering all the pop-up spaces are here, but as for now, we're just getting these temporary spaces once a year. Once they do actually have one of those spaces, I believe that you have to have 100,000 subscribers, and then you are free to use that space as you please. I'm sure you've got to ring up a book, but essentially you've got a production facility you can just walk in on. Now, as for right now, the production spaces are directly opposite me right now. I'm sort of in a green room area, I suppose, and I haven't had a look in there yet. I'm actually going to ask one of the reps when I go to the Business Acceleration course if I can check that out, because I'm actually double booked. I have a whole day of the business program tomorrow from 9:30 till 5:30, but I also booked myself from 9:30 till 5:30 to do the basic video production workshop. And I'm really keen to check out those production studio space and just really see what they're doing there. So as far as the Content Creator Lab goes, we basically sat down, with a bunch of other creators. There was a flipping channel, like tricks and sort of thing, and fighting, called Invincible on one side of me. There was a game theory channel, his name was Charles, and then there was a fella that played League of Legends. And we all just sat down at a table and went through this exercise booklet one by one, and led by every YouTuber up at the front. And it was an interesting process, just analysing each of our channels and seeing what their strengths and their weaknesses are. And it was concluded that I'm doing a really good job, but some of the weaknesses lie in my titles of my videos, because it's one of those weird things that when you guys request a specific effect, it's kind of hard to name those a lot of the times. Like something like an Iron Fist effect, that's easy, or a flash running effect, that's easy. But when you have something like the reverse flash hand phase effect, or when the flash slows down and everything else is in normal speed, those are really hard to name, and that's where I get a little bit tripped up. But for the most part, I find that if you have a thumbnail that shows the effect, people generally get the idea. I mean, I can just focus in on that and try to hone that better, because that was the general consensus of everyone at the table. But for the most part, they were saying, good job. Now, I also am staying at a place called the Capsule Hotel. I'm going to cut some footage of that right now. It is this pokey little hole in the wall in the middle of Sydney, and it is exactly what you'd think. It's a sort of a beautiful old building, so this great spiral staircase that goes all the way up, and they've got some lights hanging down. It is essentially a room with a whole bunch of space-age looking coffins, really. You're basically in a pod that's not that much bigger than, say, a dinner table. The best way to describe it, it's the size of a single bed mattress, maybe a little bit smaller. There's no storage in there. You've actually got a locker around the side, which you've got to put all your stuff in. There's a shared bathroom and a shared toilet, which I'm not that worried about. It's a little bit gross, but here's what it is. For 50 bucks a night, I mean, it's hard to complain there. But the first night I was here, I was up from 3 AM. I had to get up at 3 AM to drive to the airport to get on a flight at 6 o'clock to fly here for, it actually took longer to drive to the airport than to fly here. So it took me 90 minutes to fly here, and then I had to get off the plane, get on a train for about 20 minutes, then I had to walk about 45 minutes to get to the YouTube space and start my first workshop in 20 minutes later. So that's pretty full on, and I'm glad I had some caffeinated beverages with me and some lozenges, because it was the only way I got through that day. After the Content Creator Lab finished up, I think that was around about 12 o'clock, I called my wife and Dexter. He was not having the best day. In fact, he was miserable that I was not there. But what are you going to do? I mean, that absolutely broke my heart. But what can you do, really? So I walked back to my hotel, which was a very long walk, roughly about 45 minutes. Sat down, could not get a wink of sleep despite being ridiculously tired. 2 hours later, I made my way straight back here for their Creator Mixer thing. Now, this was one of those events that is like my kryptonite, honestly. There was loud DJ music playing, there was people milling around and socializing, and that's my nightmare. For someone who has social anxiety and is socially awkward and absolutely cannot stand crowds, that was just awful to me. I tried, I walked around, I was smiling at people, but I have a hard time walking up to people and starting conversations. It's just not my thing. So I went and sat down in a booth, and funnily enough, some people came and sat down next to me and started having some conversations with me. I met a couple of really nice people, I think it was 3 in total, and had some great conversations and enjoyed myself. One lady actually has a channel where she just films bats. She rescues bats. I think it's called Mega Batty, and that was just something super weird. Like, most of her channel is devoted, not most of her channel, all of her channel is devoted to just rescuing bats, and it's just lots of clips of her patting and playing with bats. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that was a thing. And another fellow was a writer, and he was looking to get into YouTube, so he had a lot of questions, which was an interesting experience because it was someone looking to get into YouTube, so there was a lot of questions, and I had a lot of answers for him, which is always good when someone asks your opinion and they actually listen. The last person I met that night was a guy who runs a gaming channel. I can't for the life of me of the name of the gaming channel because I've met a lot of gaming channels over the last 24 hours. Like, there is a lot of gaming channels. In the Content Creator Lab, I swear it was just gaming channels, beauty tutorial channels, and there was one guy who strapped GoPros to his head and did motorcycle videos or tutorials or something like that, but there was no one that did video tutorials like me, like effects tutorials and that. So it's sort of a bit of an isolated niche market. It sucks that there isn't anyone else here, because you really, when you come to these things, you want to be able to relate to someone, and when no one does what you do, it kind of puts you on the outer and just sticks you in a little bit of a corner. So yeah, met a couple of people, and then I noticed there was a door open and there was a whole bunch of people jumping up and down in a big room of balloons and glitter, and I thought, well, that looks super weird and awkward. I'm just gonna sign up for that and do my keep learning pose. And I didn't know it was actually a GIF making camera. So there's now a GIF of me up on the internet going, and I look like I'm having a seizure. So after that GIF went up, I had a look around the room and I thought, you know what, this really isn't my scene. I think I'm just going to go home. I am so tired. I know I have a 45-minute walk to get back to my hotel, so I just ended up leaving. So I walked that 45 minutes all the way back to my hotel, collapsed into my capsule pod and warm drawer, and went to sleep, and woke up about 7 o'clock today. So I farted around for a bit. I've shot a couple little bits and pieces for film learning, and I'm going to jump into this business accelerator program in a couple of hours. But that was day one of the YouTube Space in Sydney, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and share it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Patreon info is up there as always, $1 buy-in. Social media crap is above my head. I've got a couple of videos to the left. And until day 2, keep learning.